What's up, Steeler Nation? We are back for another great week on the one and only The Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. I am Jay York Football. Alongside of me, looking dapper as always, mic'd up Sports One. And man, exciting stuff. Well, not exciting stuff. Injuries at quarterback, but it's great to see Mason Rudolph get a shot. But it looks like Aaron Rodgers is going to be healthy, and it is Steelers-Bears week, and we are pumped, amped up to bring on our next guest. But before we do, why don't you tell the good people about our partnership with the one and only DraftKings?
Dude, you said it off air. It's week 12 already. It's like I'm
Crazy.
when is our NFL draft show gonna be hitting the airwaves, man? It's like this is the fastest season ever. Every touchdown, though, this week, once more in week 12, brings you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook. It's an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Listen, guys, it's not just football. You know this, JY. It's first touchdown fire. Anytime TD rushes, live bets that ride on every momentum shift at DraftKings. Every play is your next shot to win. I had a nice bet last night. I had a Trey Tucker Raiders anytime touchdown. He scored. That goes to show you, even idiots like myself can win money. You're going to make a ton. So new customers, this one's for you. You bet just $5 and you get 300 bonus bets instantly. Plus, you grab over $200 off NFL Sunday ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Still plenty of time to watch ball. Your season starts now. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Here's a really important thing. Use our code SICKSPORTS. This is when I got to slow it down. Code SICKSPORTS. 300 bonus bets instantly when you place your first bet of $5 or more. It's insane. Plus over 200 in Sunday ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV in partnership with DraftKings and Crown Assured.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, fees may apply in Illinois. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday ticket/terms. Limited time offer.
You guys get all that? You're getting pretty good at that. It just rolls off the tongue at this point. But like
pull oxygen mask down right here. I got one sitting in my car.
Great job. Hey, just like I alluded to in the beginning, we're very excited to bring on our next guest. You know, we like to bring on other teams' personalities and reporters. We have Justin from Bears Film Room. So, Shane, let's click play and get to it.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Steelers Crazy.
Aaron Smith shields. Flacco, Polamalu takes it home. Super Bowl 43. Pittsburgh might be bound for that thanks to number 43.
The sickest Pittsburgh Steelers podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
Yeah, he's going to be breaking things down left and right. You mentioned it. Will help get you guys familiar with a team that, quite frankly, we don't see very often, about once every 4 years at this point. So let's bring him on. Justin, what is going on, man?
What is up, everybody? How we doing?
Doing great. Doing pretty damn good over there. The team in the Windy City is winning a bunch of games. And
hey, we'll take it. Like you said, it's a long time since we play each other. Well, it's a long time that Bears ever win this amount of games. So we have not won 7 games this early since 2018. And then before that, it was like 2011 with Jay Cutler. So yeah, the vibes are very high over here in Chicagoland, and for a good reason.
Yeah, 2018? That was our guy Mitch Trubisky, right?
Yes, it was 2018. That was the double doink against the Eagles where we lost. Cody Parkey kick, so fun in the first round of the playoffs. But yeah, that was a big year for us. We don't get to be blessed like the Steelers, you know, that have multiple championships, at least hit 500 every season, at least under Mike Tomlin. We have to, scrap to get 3 to 4 or 5 wins. So the fact that we already have 7 at this point is almost a daydream, it feels like.
Yeah, be careful. You got a lot of Pittsburghers now who are on the other side of the Mike Tomlin coin. But, for the most part, I think we're with you. Anytime I talk to a fan or somebody neutral, I should say, from another team, they're like, hey, I wish we had what you have. So I do understand that for sure. But let's get into the X's and O's in the game a little bit. We got the Cal versus USC, the young Cub versus the old senior citizen, potentially quarterback matchup. But I want to start on your side. Tell Steelers fans a little bit about Caleb Williams, assess his play this season and kind of how he's grown.
Yeah, the Caleb is well. Let's actually back it up to what happened last year, right? Shit show. Just the first year as a rookie, nothing went well. He went through 3 head coaches in one season. Just things were not looking right, and everyone was worried about, I won't say the bust potential, but it's like, hey, what are we going to see year 2? We're really worried. Is like, is this going to go down, more of the Trevor Lawrence path, where it's like he never lives up to his potential and whatnot. Enter in, obviously, as we know, Ben Johnson gets the guy right. And what we've seen is what you'd see from a second-year quarterback, a lot of ups and downs. But what's different this year is the ups and downs from last year would be drastically low, drastically high. Things are coming a little bit closer towards the middle at a linear progression, which is what we like to see. So overall, if I had to give him a grade how Caleb's been playing so far, it'd be a B. But there's a lot of things that he improved on from last year, like his deep ball accuracy was horrible last year. His this year with like his pre-snap adjustments and calls and motions and things like that, he's done a really good job with that. And we have to remember that this is also a new head coach, a new offense, and a second-year quarterback. So taking in all that context, I think Chicago feels good about where Caleb's at. He hasn't turned the ball over much. I think he only has 5 turnovers on the year. He dropped his sack rate percentage down from, last year he had 68 sacks, right? Third most in NFL history. They added some, adjustments to the line, added in new players like Joe Tooney, Jonah Jackson, Darnell Wright ascended this year, Drew Dahlman from the Falcons. So the line got better. And not only that, he's been avoiding sacks at a high rate. Just last week, Dallas Turner looked like he sacked him twice. He bounced off of it, and it's happened throughout the season. And because of that, he's only been sacked, I want to say, 13 times, which is pretty low. So his sack rate dropped from like 30% all the way down to, I want to say, about 10%, which is a huge drop off. So overall, there's been a lot of things that improvements you wanted to see from the previous rookie year, and he's showing that. Now, that's good, but there's still other areas that you're hoping that he can get better. So this is not a finished product. No one here is saying, hey, build the statue now, put on the green jacket, get him in the Hall of Fame. No, but he's starting to look like the franchise guy that you took first overall last year. And for a Bears fan that's never had a quarterback that you fully felt trusted in, this is a big win for us, because I tell this with my podcast host Dave all the time. The goal of this season obviously is to win as many games as possible. But when you're thinking long-term, there's only one goal that you need to have addressed, and is this going to be your quarterback of the future? And I would say so far through 12 weeks and counting last season as well, I would say yes.
Well, that goal has not been addressed for the Steelers. And it's a fair transition. You also mentioned building a statue. This guy will have a statue built of him one day, that's for sure. I don't need you to break down X's and O's with Aaron Rodgers. And first of all, I think it's quite clear that he's about as questionable as you can be leading up to this game. But vibes for Bears fans, a little bit of the boogeyman, right? Over the years. Is that an understatement?
No. Last time we dealt with Aaron Rodgers, he ran it in for a touchdown and then, said, I own you, right? I own the Bears, okay? And he's not wrong. I hate Aaron Rodgers, not for any of the off the field stuff, whatever that may be, but literally because he destroys my team. From when I was a young boy all the way through, it's been loss after loss after loss. Like, I think his record against the Bears is 25-4. Like, that is impeccable, right? So I don't care if it's 45-year-old Rodgers on the Steelers or if it's Rodgers in his prime. I'm never going to feel comfortable with the Chicago Bears going against Aaron Rodgers. Like, you got to give him his flowers. Like you said, there's going to be a statue built for him. One of the easily top 8, you could probably say top 5 quarterback of all time, right? And then talent-wise, easily I would say top 3. So I don't care what age he is or where he's at, what team. He's shown that he can still do enough to win games. Even, his Jet stint, though it was short, when he was healthy, he played pretty well. And then I would say so far this year, you guys can let me know, you'd have much more perspective, but I think he's played pretty well. Like, for his age, he's not like the top 5 quarterback in the league, but he's definitely not losing you games. And I've definitely seen some games where he put the team on his back and won it himself. So I don't hope for injury. I'd never say that for a player, but from the fandom in me, like if he doesn't touch the grass, I'm going to be ecstatic because the chances of us winning are a lot higher with Mason Rudolph than it is with the Bear killer. So,
yeah, fair enough. He's had a rough last 6 quarters, but there's been some external factors mixed in there as well. But I think for the most part, a little has played over expectations, I should say, coming into the season in regard to Steelers fans. Jordan, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's played over expectations, although the quarterback bar isn't set very high in Pittsburgh since the retirement of Ben Roethlisberger. It's been like a carousel, and watch the whole Kenny Pickett saga and then Russell Wilson and the whole Justin Fields thing. But we'll save that for another day. Talk about what you think the biggest difference is for the Bears under Ben Johnson.
Oh, it's got to be something that you don't see on the stat sheet. One word: accountability. This team last year, everyone knows about the Hail Mary against the Washington Commanders, right? That was literally due to accountability. That locker room was a mess, right? I don't think the coaches were hard on them. That's a main reason why the coaches got fired, also because they couldn't win. Ben Johnson comes in, he's a hard ass, right? He coaches hard. Like Caleb in particular wants to be coached hard. A lot of great players want to be coached hard, right? So he comes in there and he sets a precedent like, no, we're not going to let these little things that are happening in June and July peak its head, November, December, right? We're going to nip those in the bud and we're going to get on it. So that's one of the biggest things I've noticed is, of course, teams, players, they're going to make mistakes. Even the head coaches and the coordinators all make mistakes, but it's the frequency of those mistakes. Do they keep rearing their head throughout? Last year, we saw that all the time. This year, they'll happen, and maybe it happens for 2 or 3 games, and then it's gone, right? So I actually think about like weeks 1 through 4, our pre-snap penalties on offense. Again, new offense, so it kind of makes sense, but just crazy. So many penalties. It was crazy. I was like, there's no way we're going to win games if you keep, like, at the rate we were doing it. I think we were number 1 in the league. You're not going to win games. Well, probably the past 7 games, I think we've had maybe 2 pre-snap penalties, and some of them are just like formation, where you're lined up incorrectly. So no false starts or anything like that. But just all in all, you can kind of see that there's a different culture there, which is very important. Setting the foundation, right? You're building a house. You got to set the foundation first, that first year, and then you can start to add on to it. And so I think it was important that they came in there, also Dennis Allen as well, and said, hey, look, this is what we're going to be about. If you're with it, you're with it. If you're not, you're gone. And I feel like that's with the NFL. I'd love to know your guys' thought on this, but the NFL is such a coaching league. It's the only sport, I think, the professional sport that is the coaches are almost just as important as the players, right? Because a good coach can take someone from, they can maximize their ceiling, right? So overall, right, I look at the Bears last year to this year, just the subtraction of Matt Eberflus raised everybody's floor. And then the addition of someone like Ben Johnson raised the floor even more. And we're seeing that from some of the players. They haven't changed that much. It's only been a year, and some of them are playing night and day from how they played last year, right? So I think that's the biggest thing. And obviously I can get into the X and O's, but like if I'm saying what impacts every player on the field, I think it's the coaching, Ben Johnson, and the coaching staff that he's brought in.
I mean, I think, the locker room is the most important thing. And if you have, good locker room, boosted team morale, I think that it's a win-win, on the field and off the field and leading up until the games. So obviously the Bears have a ton of close wins. Talk about, you said 7 wins, I'm sure the vibes are high, but just from what I've seen from afar, the defense is still struggling slightly.
Yeah, the defense is interesting because it's a bend don't break type of defense, right? They'll give up 500 yards against the Bengals, but they'll still get 3 turnovers, right? You know what I mean? So even last week, they allowed that last touchdown at the last.
Sounds a lot like the Steelers have been this season, truthfully. Yeah. Like, it's like you don't know what, it's just the inconsistency, but it's like they show some spurts, and then, like you said, you just nailed it on the head right there. So we're alike in a lot of ways.
For sure. Yeah. And that can actually win you a lot of games. The Bears defense right now is the number 1 lead the league in turnovers. And then the Bears as a whole are number 1 in turnover margin. So they're not turning the ball over on offense, and their defense are getting tons of turnovers. Another fun stat, if they get 2 turnovers, they're undefeated, right? So they've had 6 games where they've had at least 2 turnovers. They're 6-0. And they've had, I want to say 3 games out of those 6 where he had 3+ turnovers, right? So this team they know how to turn over the ball, but the problem with the defense and why they're kind of that bend don't break is because they're injuries, right? You lost Terrell Smith, which was, well, actually, let's go all the way back to the beginning. Jalen Johnson, your all-pro cornerback, right? He gets injured. He's been out. He's only played a quarter of football. He's planning. They think he might come back next week or the week after that. So he's been out all year. Then you have your backup to Jalen Johnson, Tyreek Stevenson, who's been injured in and out throughout the season. Then you have Tyreek Stevenson's backup, Terrell Smith, who got injured in the preseason and was out and knocked out the whole season. And so you're just kind of decimated in that secondary. And then not only that, Kyler Gordon, who's a top 5 nickel corner in the league that you just gave an extension, he got injured as well. He got injured, came back, and then got injured again. And then your, in my opinion, the best player on the defense probably in the past 3 years, TJ Edwards, he did the same thing with Kyler Gordon. He was injured. He came back the same game as Kyler Gordon. They both got injured in that game and haven't been back since. So the defense really has been decimated. And then it doesn't help as well when you have a bottom 5 pass rush in the NFL, right? So if your pass rush could probably make up for those, if your strength of your team is your secondary and it's depleted and your defensive line can't then back it up, you can see why teams easily can move the ball down the field. But I got to give a shout out to the guys who have been in there, because like Kevin Byard, 32-year-old, been a multiple all-pro safety, having the best career, having the best year of his career, 5 interceptions so far this year, has graded out pretty well with PFF if you guys use that as a barometer. But overall, he's played really well. Then you have Nashawn Wright, who's the definition of bend, don't break. I'm sure if Aaron Rodgers is playing, he's going to target him like crazy. But a lot of quarterbacks have tested him. The dude's 6'4", so his length, the window's closed real quick. And because of that, the man's had 4 picks, second in the NFL. And then you have Tremaine Edmonds, which, shout out to Dennis Allen, decided to move him from Mike linebacker to Will linebacker. And the man's on an all-pro frenzy right now. Also is tied for second with 4 interceptions in the NFL. So if you look at the top 3 interception leaders and of the top 4 NFL's top 5, sorry, out of the top 5 interception leaders in the NFL, the Bears have 4 of them with Kevin Byard, Tremaine Edmonds, Nashawn Wright, and I'm missing someone else. But all in all, to say they're going to get moved the ball on easily. No question about that. They're probably going to give up 20 points, but will they get turnovers? If they even get 1, I feel confident the Bears will win. If they get 2, the game is over.
Mike?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I apologize to anybody watching this instead of listening, because I'm about to just be a floating head. I wore a black shirt and it's getting dark in my car. So I just realized I'm like over here trying to play with the lights. But anyway,
you can still see the white hat. You're good.
Yeah, we still see. We see
it's just making me laugh. I'm lucky I didn't wear a black hat. I'll put it that way. I just want to get your general take on some keys of the game for both teams. Obviously, somewhat similar seasons in terms of defense struggling, bend but don't break. Some explosive plays in the offense. But in terms of just this matchup, what do you see and what stands out to you?
So the biggest matchup I'd say is about every week is got to be the run game. Since the bye week, the Bears run game has been top 5 in the NFL, right? Their offense as a whole has been top 10, but like a lot of it is based off the run. And that's due to Ben Johnson. If you go look at Ben Johnson's years in Detroit for the past 3 seasons, the run game was so important. That's why they took Jahmyr Gibbs in the draft and signed Monty in the same season, right? And you saw how that Sonic and Knuckles worked in Detroit. Yep. You're looking for that same thing here. And you're starting to see it with DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai, the 7th round pick out of Rutgers. You're getting a lot of that with their wide zones, a lot of their power runs. It's really opening up this offense. And when they get over 140 yards, which they've done on this win streak, or like the last 7 of 8, I think they are averaging around like 130 to 140. So when they do that, they basically win. So if you can shut down their run and force it to be pass only, right, or very one directional, it's not that the Bears can't win, but you're definitely making it harder for them because that's not how they've thrived. Also, Caleb Williams has had some of his best efficient plays and biggest explosive plays under center play action. You can't do you can't do a play action well if you don't have a good run game. So what I'm expecting for the Bears to go against this defense, right, the bend don't break type of thing, is probably going to be those explosive plays. Starting it off, gash run, and then you get another first down and you play action, deep throw. Because this Bears offense has also been, they're actually since week 5 in the NFL, they've led the NFL in explosive plays. So that's either 10 plus runs or 20 plus yard passes. And so they're going to get you a couple times a game. It's more about like how many of those are going to happen. And a lot of them have converted to touchdowns. So I think that's like the biggest takeaway, because we are going against, it's still a good D, also you got to keep in mind TJ Watt, game wrecker. So it's really going to be focused on which offense, in my opinion, can take advantage of these kind of flaky defenses. Because if you're expecting your defense, right, Pittsburgh or Chicago, to be like, oh, that's going to be the main reason why they win, that's probably not a good barometer to have based off at least the games we've seen so far through week 12. So I'm looking particularly at the offense and the run game. But what would be your guys' takeaway, like when you're looking at the Bears so far and how they've been structured?
First of all, shout out Kyle Monunge, dynasty pick for me. Let's go, crushing it.
Love that.
I'm loving that long-term potential there. I mean, just to touch on what you said briefly, hoping some Bears fans will watch this as well. Steelers' run defense has been so Jekyll and Hyde, they make no sense. They were beat up by Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson earlier in the year, but they shut down Jonathan Taylor. They shut down Josh Jacobs. They got their asses kicked a little bit by Chase Brown in Cincinnati a handful of weeks ago. So it's absolutely a huge key in this game. I mean, I couldn't agree more.
You just never know it's the inconsistency of it. It just comes back to, what defense is going to show up.
I'm worried about your weapons for sure. It seems like Loveland has really come on. Slower start to the season, but we also really struggle against tight ends. Tucker Kraft pre-injury just annihilated us. I'm not sure if you watched that Sunday night game at all. Struggled against Tyler Warren, everybody has, but tight ends usually crush us. So I'm sure you guys are optimistic about Loveland's ascension, right?
Yeah, Loveland and Cole Kmet he had a pretty good game last week. And Ben Johnson loves to run 12 and 13 personnel. So you'll see a lot of jumbo packages, one wide receiver, two wide receivers, two tight ends. And so, that's good to hear, because our tight ends have been, the thing with Colson Loveland is when you compare it to like a Tyler Warren's like the only tight end, right? Colson Loveland's not, the snap share is not the same. So,
right.
But where the tight ends have actually been the most effective and been pretty solid is the run blocking. Actually, across the board, why, like the weapons have had a lot of drops this season. I think they're fourth in the NFL with 18 drops. So they've been dropping the ball, but they've been making up for it in their run blocking. And I think that's been a key part to how well this offense has been moving, because they'll get in those jumbo ones, and a lot of our big runs, like the explosive plays, you'll see a Rome Odunze taking a guy, 10 yards down the field, or a crack block coming in from our DJ. So I think it's going to be a big matchup here, is what version of the Steelers are we going to get versus a heavy run and a heavy tight end set. And I'm hoping that, they can exploit that if that's going to be the weakness, but you never know. Like you guys said, same with our defense. You don't know who's going to show up on Sunday. So that's going to be a big part. It's really, I don't know how you guys feel. It's going to be watching these offenses and see who can dissect it, or which defense is going to make the biggest mistake first, because they're going to do it. So who's going to make the one first? That's going to be the drastic one, the most significant, and also who's going to make the most of them, right? So penalties or breakdowns in coverage, things like that, because the Bears will do that a lot. And sometimes, some more than others, but I feel like they might be set up for a game where they do a lot more than what we've seen in the past. Because let's be real. Go ahead.
Do you have a weather report for us? I have no idea. I haven't looked at it.
Actually, I don't. I do not. I know that our last home game, our last home game, we had light flurries. It is Chicago, so I'm sure it's probably going to be cold. I don't think I didn't see any reports about snow, because I would have probably already saw that. So I'm assuming it probably won't play a big factor other than just typical November weather like Pittsburgh's probably used to. So, but still, like you notice this at the end of the season, this becomes run heaviness with these teams, right? It gets harder and harder unless you're in a dome to pass in the cold later in the season. So teams that have a really good run game and consistent run game, they start to kind of peer their head towards the top. So I'm excited to see if the Bears can do that this season. Do that against the Steelers coming up, who I still think is a formidable defense. You're not going against Dallas, right? It's a defense that can still cause tons of chaos, and you've got the talent. right? You've got the talent. You got Ramsey, you got TJ Watt, right? That's enough in itself for me personally. So it's more about like, what can they do to really make sure that those guys are not making significant plays?
I think for me personally, whoever wins the turnover battle, and it's a commonality in football, but I think that that's what it's going to come down to. I think this game personally will come down to the last possession. It could be one on a field goal. I just think it's going to be one of those nail biter games. But I honestly think it's going to be more of a defensive battle. I think that, despite what we've been going through this season on both with our team, I think that at the end of the day, it's going to come down to, it's a game of inches. So I think final drive, it's going to be one of those, which we're used to over here in Steeler. Like that Bengals game last week was the first time where I like sat back and I was like, rather than Aaron Rodgers going down, I was like, man, like I was like ready to text Mike, because I did it when the Steelers played in Ireland, and it's like we're so used. Pittsburgh, I don't know if they just like keeping people's anxiety and blood pressure high. I don't know what it is. But that's just how Steeler football is. But hey, we really appreciate having you on. Have to do it again. Hopefully the Steelers and Bear. Tell everyone what you have going on and where they can find you.
And a final score. Hit us with a score.
Oh, final score. Okay. Well, first of all, I want to say this one thing that you said, York, is that I hope that's not the case. The Bears have had 5 games so far. I think it's an NFL record ever in a season where they've been down in this 2 minutes or less and came back and won. So my heart can only take so much. I've already lost about 10 years.
Join the club.
Yeah. So I look, if one team wins, obviously we want ours to win. Let's not make it be a cardiac mess for just the both of us. Let us know at halftime. We can go on with the rest of our day, So for either side. But where you can find me, so you can find me and Dave we have a podcast called Bears Film Room. Probably not going to be particular important to Steeler fans out there, but if you ever want to watch or hate watch, that's totally fine as well. It's Bears Film Room on YouTube. We're also on Twitter as well, BFR_pod. You can find us there across all socials and things like that.
That's awesome. And then before we get you out of here, appreciate your time first and foremost, but got to give us that prediction.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. It's at home. I think I feel like it's not gonna be as high scoring as what I'm expecting, because every time I go high score, they end up not. So I think I'm gonna go under. I think I'm gonna go 24-21 Bears.
Okay.
And I'm gonna hate every minute of it. So because I feel like what's gonna happen is either they're gonna have the lead and blow it, or they're gonna be behind and they're gonna have to make a comeback. Like I'm not gonna feel comfortable in the fourth quarter. How about that?
Yeah, well, we've all been there.
I can see it the other way too. It could easily be 24.
Like I said, you kind of brought this to light because like the Bears and the Steelers this season are so similar in so many ways. Now, like just listening to your insight, because obviously we're not super familiar with you guys, not playing you guys and being in the NFC, but it's just like, Mike, like I'm like after this podcast, I'm like, man, this is like I don't even know if I could pick. Like, can I pick a tie at this point? I think that's where I'm headed, especially if Mason Rudolph is going to be behind center. So
yeah, I think that's a big one too, because I actually want to get your guys' thoughts on that before I leave here. But do you think Rodgers is going to play? And if he doesn't, though, I actually don't think it's going to be that close. I think we can beat Joe Mason, but I easily could see us losing to Rodgers. I don't care if it's Rodgers with one arm and one leg.
Yeah,
find a way to
I think he wants to play, but for the longevity of the rest of the season, I think that, obviously it's Aaron Rodgers. He's, if he could, I feel like that's just his mentality. He wants to be out there, and I get that, but I think that they're probably going to tell him to sit this one out. But what I will say about Mason Rudolph, and I don't think the Steelers are going to win a Super Bowl with him, but cohesively, he's been there. He brings those guys together, and he really thrives in moments like these. So I wouldn't, it is Mason Rudolph, but I wouldn't bet against him, because he could have one of those games. And, he led the Steelers to the playoffs, just a few years ago. So, I'm just as confident with him just because, I know that he knows the system, and, this is Mason Rudolph football coming off the bench and being ready to play. So it's going to be interesting.
It's not his first time. And look, the NFL's crazy any given Sunday. If 55-year-old Joe Flacco can look like an MVP, right, then I'm sure Mason Rudolph can go in there and find a way to get a win. So you never know, and that's why we love it. But
I would definitely feel more confident with Aaron Rodgers against the Bears. I will say that. But I'm not like, it's not that much. The optimism's still there, to say the least. But
We'll wait and see. It'll be an interesting one either way, of course. No other way it'd be perfectly. It has to be just chaos before the game even starts.
Welcome to the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. This was awesome.
Anytime, man. Keep up the good work, and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Take care. Yeah. I mean, that's what the whole podcast, I'm just thinking, Mike, like they're so similar. And you know what was funny is we didn't even bring up the name Justin Fields, and I thought that was going to come up, but I think at this point, everyone got on tonight. Yeah, when I told the Steelers, and now you see, now they're going to have to eat that contract, and they have Tyrod Taylor starting in New York, so I'll leave it at that. But yeah, excited for this matchup. It's going to be interesting. Like I said, I think this is going to be an anxiety-ridden game, but we're going to be here. And before we get out of here, just want to shout out to Huel. If you guys are looking to get that energy fix, try Huel with 15% off new customers today using our code 6Steelers. You could see the code right there. You got to perform in a gym. You got to perform at work. And sometimes you just need that pickup and you don't have the food. You forgot the meal prep. This is going to give you everything you need, packed with protein, all the good ingredients, healthy. And yeah, I tried it. It's great. You tried it. I should have worn my shirt. I actually got a restock on some. So make sure you use our code 6Steelers, and shout out to Huel for keeping us fueled on the Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. But I'm going to go 17-13 Steelers. I'll leave it at that. That's all I'm saying. I'm not elaborating on it.
Don't I have time to make a prediction? Thought we have a little bit more.
That's mine. I'm not elaborating because I'm not too confident. Like I said, I think it could go either way. It might be 17-13 Bears, but this is a Steelers podcast, so I'm gonna say 17-13 Steelers.
I'm leaning Steelers early on, but I reserve the right to hold my prediction because I don't know. Quarterback
just tweet it out.
I don't know what the weather's going to be. I don't know who's in, who's out. So we'll take another look later in the week.
All right, sounds good. Well, hey, appreciate you guys hanging out with us. And we're just going to keep rocking and rolling, have some great guests lined up. I love doing, we like to bring on the other teams' reporters and personalities to give you guys an inside look of the Steelers matchups week in and week out. So thanks for hanging out with us. As always, love yins, peace, love, Steeler football. Until next time, J York Football, mic'd up Sports One. Thank gosh you wore that white hat, or you'd just be like a floating blob. But hey, there, yeah. You must have known. All right, Shane, take it away. Good night, Steeler Net.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Steelers Crazy on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.